Welcome to the Feminine Voice of God, a podcast celebrating women's spiritual connections to God, Source, and Spirit, including the mystical and the psychedelic. Join us as we explore women's transformative experiences of divine revelation and spiritual empowerment. Hello, darling ones. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in from. And I want to start by saying I am so grateful that you're here. I'm so honored to have people in various different countries and places listening to this podcast. I didn't think that it would become what it was when it started. And if you haven't listened to season 1 of The Feminine Voice of God, I would highly recommend you go back and check it out. One, the beautiful and awakening stories that are shared by the women that are in season 1, it's a phenomenal experience and could lead to deeper awakening within yourself. Also, personally for me, seeing the shift of me from episode 1 to the end, and not only in the energy and how I'm showing up, but also just in how I'm communicating with people is incredible. And I am somebody that I work in Los Angeles in mental health. So I have developed a lot of skills already. However, this podcast, the work I'm doing, the spiritual space that I'm stepping into is really requiring a different level for me. And I'm so honored to be a part of it. And I'm so honored that you are a part of it. And it is a change and a shift that is happening all over the world. And I'm sure you can feel it. And I definitely do. So we will talk about that as well during this podcast. And just bringing it back really quick to you showing up in this space and listening to this podcast, you being a part of this, even just listening, sometimes what happens for us is we will be having our own spiritual awakening or experience, and something pops into our life, or we stumble upon something and we think it's just by chance or coincidence, when really it's just more of us being led onto the path that is created for us. It's confirmation that we are in alignment, in the right space, in the right time, and sometimes different codes of activation will be awakened within the body, within the mind, within the energy field. So you being here is such an important piece of the work that is happening energetically on the planet and everything that is shifting. So I'm honored that you're here, and thank you so much for being a part of this. I would also like to recognize some of the countries that have popped up just in the last 30 days. I want you to know that you are seen, that you are welcomed, and I am so honored that you're part of this with us. So the United States, of course, that's where I'm casting and transmitting from. So thank you for being a part of the Feminine Voice of God in our journey. And another country that I saw pop up that I was just so excited to see was Japan. So Japan, if you are here with us and listening to this, I thank you. I honor you. And I am just filled with joy and excitement knowing that this has reached you. So thank you for being here. I'd also like to recognize Spain that has showed up. And I'm just, again, reading this list of countries is bewildering in a way, but in a great way, because I didn't ever think that this would reach others. So Spain, thank you for being here. Ireland, welcome back. You've popped up in the last 30 days. I'm sure that you're going to make your comeback and you're going to show up. You were actually like the second country behind the United States that had the most listeners last year for season one. So welcome back, Ireland. Poland has also shown up. So Poland, welcome and thank you for being here. And this podcast being shared across all these different countries just shows me that the message that is being shared of women's spiritual awakening and that awakening vibrating through the rest of the planet is being heard. So thank you, all of you, for being here. I am so grateful, and I look forward to what other countries show up over this next season 2, which we are now on, of the Feminine Voice of God. So just starting with a little bit of what I have been up to, beings of planet Earth, when I say that so many things have been changing for me over the last year. And some of them have been incredibly difficult. I think the biggest one is I was in a just over an 8-year relationship with an incredible partner. And yes, there are things that were difficult in that relationship and that were challenging for both of us as well. And just within the last couple of months, that has shifted. We realized that we were no longer in alignment with each other, with what we wanted for our life. And I believe that there was growing that needed to happen on both sides in different ways. And we chose to end that chapter and step away. So that's been one of the big changes that has happened in my life just within the last couple of months. And it was incredibly difficult. I had some really hard moments where emotionally I felt extremely overwhelmed. I felt like I needed time away from the world, and I took it. I took some time to just be with myself and sit with my emotions and my thoughts and my energy. And if you follow me on Instagram, the Feminine Voice of God's Instagram, I did announce that during the wintertime we were taking a sacred pause. And the reason for that is because we operate on cycles. The earth is cyclical. And here in the United States, we are going through winter. So during that time, I decided I wanted to take a pause. And it was sort of like a really long exhale for the feminine voice of God, because being in constant doing and creating just doesn't sit well with me. And I'm sure if others feel that way, we're connected and in alignment with the energy and frequency of the planet, which is time for rest, right? Our nervous system also needs time for rest and digest. Being constantly active and moving is a lot for us. It's extremely activating, not only for our body, but also, the planet and the cycles and the cyclical nature of our being and the planet's being is not in constant doing. Even the sun takes time to rest and allows the moon to shine. So this period of winter, of this exhale, of this pause, felt like my relationship also aligned with that, with the shedding away. It had started, and it wasn't just sudden. I want you guys to know that throughout our 8-year time, there have been signs and signals that things were shifting and changing. So this all kind of came to a head right at like wintertime, when we take those sacred pauses, right? When things are dying in autumn, right? They're coming to an end. Things are dying. Some things are going dormant, resting. So it was just the way it aligned was so incredible. So I think that also was just stepping into really more of my path of what I'm being called to do. Something else that has been just expanding and growing is my spiritual work and the work that I'm doing with other people in the spiritual space, and the honor that I'm gifted with to work with people and plant medicine as well. I have met and connected with a group of people that really, it feels like a soul family. And I'm sure you guys have experienced this with people before in your life, but people that you feel this deep resonance and connection with, that you feel like you are here together to create or do something, or that you've known each other before. And I do want to say this with some awareness as well, that, there are times that people that we are having struggles with or aren't kind with us can sometimes be part of that. And I do want to say that, sometimes they're not. So, like, I don't want to turn everything into that, oh, this person is my soul family if, they're not a kind individual. It's possible. And at the same time, sometimes those are opportunities and just moments for us to gain a skill or an understanding of something and then shift. Not necessarily that we're all soul family. I mean, on a very deep level, we are, right? We are all part of that one giant soul family. However, what I'm referring to is individuals that you feel are here to carry out a divine mission and assignment with you, that you maybe have had past lives with or connections with. So these individuals, I definitely feel that we are here for a specific mission. And if that mission lasts several chapters, maybe it has its own little book. It's like part of a series. Maybe it is only going to be one chapter. I'm not sure, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And it is working with plant medicine in a way that is creating a sacred container of safety, of awareness to pain, and expansion for people, and allowing healing, not only their healing, but our healing, and bringing a frequency of that awareness to be able to hold space for them. And I say this with deep discernment as well, because this work requires spiritual responsibility. It requires being able to be safe and aware within your own body and your own mind. And while this work, yes, can be done by almost anybody, I do want to say that like I said, there is a spiritual responsibility that goes into it. So I know people get excited when they hear about working with plant medicine, and I do want everyone listening to know that this has been a very long path for me. I have been working in the spiritual space, spiritual study, and plant medicine, not in a open scale like I am now, but privately and with other individuals for over 10 years. I also am a certified meditation teacher, so I went through a training for that. I am actively training as a yoga teacher and therapist, which is, these two are not requirements, right, of being a plant medicine facilitator, but they definitely are contributing factors to creating that space for others. And that space, like I said, requires responsibility and safety. I also am a certified mental health coach and first responder, which means that I have developed skills necessary to support people that are in crisis, especially psychological and emotional crisis. And that is something that is deeply required during ceremony. I'm also currently training as a multidimensional healer. And that is covering so many different aspects, not only with the individual and our background and history, it also is energetically working with the energy, the field of each individual, but also the field that we're in right now, that you're surrounded by. And you might not see it or feel it, but it is there. So, definitely a lot of training. And my initiation really into this started when I was about 8 years old. When I was around eight, unfortunately, and also I want to say that that unfortunateness was as a child. However, now I've realized how that pain became one of my biggest gifts. Was I went through childhood abuse psychologically, physically, sexually by a adult. It was a male person that was living in our home. And this happened from the time that I was about 8 until I was 13. And for me to be able to even be on this podcast right now and speaking this to you with awareness, with presence, not breaking down, crying, or becoming like emotionally volatile, which are all natural responses as you're working on healing, right? I don't want to say that that's not something that will happen, because it most likely will. If you've also experienced this, I'm sure you understand, or other childhood pain. However, it's making those unconscious things, reactions, automatic responses, and that automatic connection to that pain and that story conscious. Becoming conscious of it, becoming aware of it. And that really started this whole journey for me. And as I'm sure some of you know if you've listened to season 1, but in season 1, episode 1, I also talk about my brother who he passed away at 27 years old. I was 25. And that moment was like the shift. You know, when death can be a really big portal for us of transformation. And my brother passing away really was the moment that I awakened to my spiritual being and who I truly was underneath everything, underneath the stories, the patterns, the automatic thinking, the personality, the character. And so I say this with so much love and with gentle and kind awareness and discernment that being on this path has been a lifelong journey for me. I also didn't choose to be really in this space. I mean, I've made choices that have put me closer to it, absolutely. However, like I was studying to be a wildlife biologist when I was living in New Mexico. And I started working in mental health because of my own mental health breakdown that I had, where I was hospitalized and I had to go through years of therapy and work to get my mind, my energy, my emotional body, my spirit, everything into an alignment that, you know, really supported the work that I'm doing now. So never did I ever think that I would be holding plant medicine ceremonies for people, working with a group of other individuals that I call myself family that are also aligned with this work. And, you know, just I know that we're talking about characters and personalities and all those things. However, Also being a Latina, somebody that is, from that Latin origin. I come from a family from Cuba, from Mexico, from Spain. I do have a splash of some Chinese and some other things in there as well. However, growing up, knowing that I have that lineage and being assimilated into the Western culture, it was extremely confusing growing up, seeing one culture and one way of operating from my family, but also the shame that they carried in needing to be assimilated into the culture. Both my parents, their first language is Spanish, and they actively chose not to teach us Spanish, their kids, because they wanted us to be accepted and be part of the culture here. So that in itself, right? Like now I'm living with family, so and the family I'm living with only speaks Spanish. So I am in a space where I am I'm learning. And I have practiced Spanish throughout my life. I could practice absolutely a little bit more and hone those skills, but definitely something that I would love to expand more because I'm here and I'm in that space to do so. So even that, me reconnecting with my lineage, my background, my history, seeing the ways that my grandmother has given us natural remedies and healing throughout our life, and my mother as well, my mother, they've used these natural healing remedies throughout our whole life. And my father has abilities that are psychic, and he connects to other spaces and things. And he didn't even know what was going on. He told me one day, he sat me down. We were having lunch together. We sat down. He was very serious. And my family calls me Nikki, by the way. And he goes, "Hey, Nikki, I have to tell you something." And honestly, guys, I thought that my dad was going to tell me some deep, dark secret that he had been holding about something horrible. And so I was ready. My eyes were wide. I moved in closer. I kind of was like, "What? Oh my gosh, Dad, what is it?" And he told me that he has these really weird dreams. And I don't want to completely share his story, but weird dreams and strange things happening at nighttime. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, I have been working in the spiritual space, like connecting to this for so long, and you're just doing it." And it just shows how like our gifts can be awakened at any time. And when we start to recognize them, we step into them more. So I will say, like, while my gift, my lineage, my background, my work, my initiation has led me to working with plant medicine, your gift is waiting for you, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be the same as mine, nor will it be for some of you, because we all are here for different things, for what the planet needs to shift and change. So be open to whatever your gift is and be willing and ready to step onto that path because you never know when it's going to call you. I was holding just really private, kind of like close knit friends groups of plant medicine. And I wouldn't call them ceremonies at the time. I, th- I mean, it's always a ceremony when you step into the plant medicine, but it was more of just a group gathering. And I I didn't think that I was going to be holding larger ceremonies for people and doing it in a more structured container and type of way, which that structure is vital and necessary for that responsibility to others, creating a safe container for people and ensuring that I am stepping into it in a really conscious and aware type of way that is honoring other people in their journey as well. So I was in Hawaii doing this with a small group of friends and my partner at the time. And I got this feeling, and we did we did it, and it lasted about 8 hours. And for most of that 8 hours, outside of having to use the restroom, I was sitting in meditation pose, and the medicine had started guiding me a few ceremonies back. I do self ceremonies as well, just with myself, for me. I've done them with other, like I said, friends and people many, many times over the last 10 years. And I had been being guided to move my energy in a different way. So that might not fully make sense, but if you're ever in that space or using plant medicine, you will understand. And I would also highly suggest not just jumping into it if it's something you've never done. Definitely connect with a group of people that are acting in spiritual responsibility, because the community does help with support, with witnessing, with healing. So, I had been sitting in that meditation pose in Hawaii, and such a beautiful experience. And the the connection and the balance with the planet was phenomenal. So I'm sitting in meditation. I get up, I go to use the restroom. As I'm walking into the house, I feel this energy like a smack to the face. Okay. And it's like a backhand to the face. Okay. And I get this immediate message that, and I'm going to say it the way that spirit, or the the spirit of the mushrooms, told it to me, right? They're like, "What are you doing? We've been telling you, we've been calling you to do this, and you keep messing around doing it like this. And do you not understand that there are people that are waiting to meet this in the way that you are bringing it to the world? And they're missing out on that opportunity, and you are missing out on that opportunity the longer that you choose to wait and hide and hold your gifts." So after that experience, which was a huge awakening for me also, I was like, all right, it's time. It's time to step into it and really start doing it. And I will say that as I opened that up and I stepped into that and started trusting my gifts and trusting the messages I was receiving, even with this podcast, right? That even was something that I didn't, again, think I would ever be here creating a podcast. And that was a message that was delivered to me as well, that I needed to create this space. So when you listen, and I'll speak for me right now, when I listened to that calling, to that message, to that divine assignment, things just started to fall into place. Things started to work out. The people and places and things that were meant to be a part of that process have now started to come and be in alignment with my energy. And I want to speak to this for a moment now for everyone and for all of you that are listening, and it just ties back into what I was saying kind of at the beginning of this as well, that when you're in alignment with what is meant for you, you will get signs, signals of confirmation. Things will just sometimes work out. People will just show up. Like those synchronicities, those things that people call coincidence, I call confirmation that you're in alignment. And that's not to say that you won't get those things when you also feel like you're not in alignment, because those things pop up sometimes as signals to say, like, ding, 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 like, pay attention. Do you see? I'm reminding you Do you recognize what's happening? Are you going to listen? So I want you to be aware that that happens also when we feel like life is not in alignment. And on an even deeper level, I'm going to take you guys to another level now. Everything is alignment. They're both threads of the same dance. The light and the dark is all part of the great game of God, as I like to call it, that we're playing. Leela, the dance of personhood, of existence. And this is something that I'm not just saying, these are things that other people have said that I'm bringing to you just as a reminder. So just know that it's all part of it. Even when things feel like they're not working out, right? That is part of your path and your journey. Something's there for you to stop, to look at, to become aware of, to be able to shift, to be able to change, to be able to get back into alignment and do that dance, and then go out of alignment and do that dance. And all of it is for the discovery of the deeper self. And all of it too is for the experience and expansion of the soul as a human being. So just know that all of that on a whole other level is alignment for what is happening. It's the dance of the light and the dark. And we're seeing that right now. We're seeing that. And while it is a dance and there is some play and fun energy, curious energy, mystery energy, like expansion and like, let's just jump into the game, right? Jump into the pool type of energy. There is also a seriousness to the spiritual warfare that is happening. I mean, there's sirens going off right now. Like, I love how this happens. There's sirens going off right now. I don't know if you can hear them. Probably not, because this app will actually like mute background noise, but there's sirens going by right now as I'm saying that there's a seriousness to this. Because, as I'm sure you can see, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of traumatizing others. And that needs to shift and change. And it begins with each of us, each individual standing in their energy, in their knowing, healing those parts of themselves and showing up for others in the world that you are able to stand for, that you're able to support, and that you're able to bring your gifts to so they can also do the same. So we can start shifting and changing what's happening, because the pain and what's being played out, it's darkness. I've experienced severe pain in my life, and I can speak to that by saying, when you're in that, I have no words, honestly. Like, as a child experiencing that pain, there was no way that I ever thought I would be here. However, being in it felt like forever. It felt like it was never going to end. And I thought that my life was going to be that pain forever. And that hurt of me as a child going through that experience added to the pain that we're experiencing. And no child, no human being should ever have to go through that pain and some of the atrocities that are happening in our world. And like I said, it takes us stepping into our power, awakening, shifting, and changing. And yes, if we take it to the next level, it is all part of the dark and the light the good and the bad, the black and the white, and all the color and gray area in between. And at the same time, the level to which darkness is being experienced by people on our planet can be shifted and needs to be shifted. So I want to say that. And with that, it leads me into something deeper that I've been really discovering over the last year that I've been not only doing the podcast, but just on my spiritual journey and the spiritual journey of others, is that we are so, as a whole, out of alignment with the planet and her energy. And that's a message that I also got in Hawaii. Mother Nature is suffocating. We, as the human race, are contributing to dropping her frequency and being disconnected from her frequency and energy. And there's multiple pieces for this, so stay with me. Okay, just stick it out. And it's all going to make sense, I promise. It's also contributing, and a big part of it, of not honoring and respecting the planet and the mother and her energy, is also being transferred and is seen. It's a mirror. It's being seen in the way that the feminine is treated, the feminine energy, not just the feminine body and being, but the feminine energy that lives within every single one of us, even masculine bodied people. That feminine energy has been forgotten, disrespected, dishonored. The feminine energy is the portal. The feminine body, the female body, is the portal for human beings and souls to come to the planet. And that's mirrored in Mother Nature. Look around you. She has created every single thing. Man has contributed by shifting and changing material to be certain things. However, everything is created from the mother, from the planet, who is our mother. And if you look around, everything that exists on the planet has its own checks and balances. When I was in college studying wildlife biology, I wrote a paper on fires and wildfire. And there's a difference between man-created and started fires and the wildfires that are happening. So over time, fires naturally would be created, lightning, sometimes heat in certain materials from the sun. And that fire, while has a destructive force, also contributed to transformation in different ways. So clearing forest areas, the ash and that burning contributes to the soil and the soil shifting, to certain animals and bugs and other birds and all the creatures out there being able to use those areas in different ways. And some of them thrive in them and some of them do not. So there's so much that goes into it. And Mother Nature has created all of that. And in that creation and her living in her expansion, she has also been protected by, if you look up, Father Sky. He surrounds her. He protects her. There's a structure that's created. So she's protected from that outside that would, if we didn't have the sky and the whole atmosphere that's protecting our planet, we wouldn't be. So these are two counterparts that exist. It's even mirrored in the sun and the moon. The sun represents the masculine energy, very structured, same cycle, up and down every single day, showing up. The moon represents the feminine energy, and it has its own cycle. It's like a 28-day cycle, right? Which also mirrors us women, our female moon cycle that we experience every month. And our hormones, same thing with the masculine. The men experience a hormone shift. That is a 24-hour one. Ours is like a 28-day one based on your cycle. And that's the same thing with the moon. The moon changes phases over 28 days. So these counterparts, these divine counterparts that exist in our world around us, in our reality, in our hormone cycles, in our body, and in our energy. Because we also have masculine and feminine energy that runs through all of us. Every single one of us. Sometimes we embody more of one, or we embody the other. Or we're a little, centered in our equilibrium and feeling both. So just know that energy is what I'm speaking to as well when I'm talking about how we're dishonoring and not showing up in conscious awareness for the planet and for that energy that lives within us. And because of all that has happened with the planet, she is, like I said, suffocating. She is saying that we need to change. And I think of it like this also. The planet has a natural frequency that we're all attuned to. Okay. And as we're going about living our life, doing all the things that we do, we are shifting our energy in so many different ways. The things we eat, the things we listen to, the things we watch, the activities we participate in, the thoughts we have, everything, the experiences we go through, everything, right, contributes to that. And when we are disconnected from the energy of the planet, we experience that as disequilibrium in our life too. Because the planet's frequency, which is a Schumann resonance, you can look that up. It's a frequency that the planet naturally emits. That frequency, when we're connected to, I'll tell you, I've experienced it in ceremony, and it's like the language of the universe, I call it too. When you breathe, you feel the planet breathing. And I experienced this in Hawaii. I would breathe in, and as I would breathe in, the animals would get louder, the coqui frogs would get louder, the rain would start falling heavier, everything would rise. And then as I would exhale, everything would be more quiet. The rain would settle. The animals would become more calm. And breathing in again, it would happen again. And it's this oneness that you get connected to. And that is what she's asking for. The planet is asking for us to reconnect and remember that, because when we do, we honor her. Because we start recognizing within ourselves what we need to do to shift, to change, to become, to honor that energy, to respect her, to live in alignment and balance with her. And she's calling. I don't know if you can feel it, but she's calling us. I feel it. And if you do feel it, you probably even feel it right now, starting to move in your body. She's calling us to remember. She's sending out the frequency. And I think of that like this as well. in a beehive. And I don't know the total workings, so some of you probably know this a little bit better than I do, but this is what kind of came up for me when I was thinking about this. In a beehive, the queen bee, she sends out vibrational signals to the other bees, directives for them to do things. The planet is doing the same. She is fighting for herself and for us, for all her children, everything that exists on her. And she's sending out the vibrational frequency, and those that are connected will hear and fall in line with the directive that she's giving. And I think that is a big part of my journey of how I've shifted and changed and stepped into the place that I am, is because of that frequency of the planet, because of my connection to nature, and because of my connection to spirit and the spirituality also. So I'm grounded here on planet Earth, deeply grounded to our mother, to my experience, and I'm also expanding to the dimensions above, to the energy that exists outside of here. And that connection, being deeply grounded, but also expanding into the other realms, is what's needed. And I see this a lot with people I work with in mental health as well. There are people that have incredible spiritual experiences, yet it comes through, and then there's mental health crashes and issues that come up as well. And they're labeled as, a lot of times, mentally ill. And I will say this also with discernment. There are absolutely times, and I say this as a mental health coach and professional, absolutely times when mental health professional work and support is needed. So don't just take everything as it's a spiritual experience. How I got here was years of therapy, years of work on my own mental health. However, what I've come to understand is that part of some of those experiences, and I'll speak for myself, that I had, that kind of shook my mental health and did put me in a space where I was mentally ill, was because of me and my history and my background and those things that needed to be cleared and grounded in this reality first before I could connect to anything else. And I had to learn the skills necessary and required to manage my mind, my emotions, my communication. So these are all really important pieces. And that's why I say, like, being grounded in this earth and this planet is so important. And when you're just trying to jump up to the other places, it doesn't work because you don't have the structural integration within the body. And I started becoming mentally ill because of all the experiences that I had experienced, and then just wanting to get away from them, wanting to not have to deal with them. And that's where the spiritual bypassing part comes in. So I want to be really aware, and I want you to also be really aware of that. Okay. And that's also mirrored in the chakra system too. So we have the chakras, that 7 major chakras in our body, and the lower chakras, you have to develop and really work on those chakras because those are the grounded space, and that's connecting you to the root, to the grounded earth. And that development, if you try to bypass that and just jump to the other chakras that are the higher ones in the upper part of the body, it can cause some disequilibrium. And I also want to say that the heart chakra is the bridge between the two. And that heart chakra, if your heart is closed, if you are isolated, lonely, heartbroken, sad, disconnected from others, from yourself, that bridge is blocked. And that bridge is an important piece to be able to shift that energy, the below and the above, the connection to the groundedness of the planet and the earth and our energy and our life and our reality here, and being connected to those higher planes and dimensional things that are going on and that are calling us. However, it takes that grounding and that connection has to be in place for responsible growth and ascension to other spaces. Not to say that it won't happen for people, because there are times that it just does, that it'll just, something extraordinary, a miracle will happen and something will shift and change in people's lives and they'll be connected to that. However, I will say for my own experience, and I know for many other people's experiences that I've talked to on this journey and on this path, is that, and just from all the, I mean, there's so many texts and information that you can read from people that have existed long before us that speak to this, about having that first, doing that, and not really seeking the other things, like the higher things, because that comes as you work on yourself, as you heal yourself, as you understand your mind, your emotions, your body, what happened to you, your automatic ways of thinking, the stories you keep yourself trapped in. So I want to say that, and I know that we all want to not experience pain and hurt and uncomfortable emotions, experiences, things in our life. And like I said before, those things actually led me to my gifts, led me to a place where now, when I am grounded and connected to that, I feel the higher realms and the energy from other places coming to me. And in ceremony, I've experienced other beings and things coming to me and being channeled to and through me, the energy of the universe as well, for supporting others, for allowing others to get in attunement with that energy by holding the frequency of that. And there's times that I have also received what I call transmissions. And that leads me to this last piece that I want to share with you before this episode 1 of season 2 ends, is there's times I get transmissions or I feel things being channeled to me that need to be shared. And one of those things is some music that is just messages that I get that I put into a music creator that is in partnership with an AI. And I'll talk about that in a second too. But I create the words, I put in the transmission, I tell the AI how I want it to sound, what I want it to do, maybe where I want it to create a different pitch, maybe sing, or put background vocals here, whatever it might be. And it creates it. So we're co-creating this together. And I do want to say, with AI and everything that's going on with AI, that is also a mirror of what we're doing and who we are. And I know that the story has been put into our minds to be afraid, to be fearful, right? All the movies that we've created in the States about robots and things, right, taking over. I will say that story, those movies, that agenda has been fed to us for a reason, because it's creating the narrative for what they want us to believe. I'll say it again. It is creating the narrative for what they want us to believe, because your belief and your frequency that is created from that belief in your body creates the reality. So if you're in the frequency and the reality of fear, of, oh my gosh, this is going to happen to us. Look at all the movies. Look at all the things. It's coming. looking up all the things that are going wrong, XYZ about all the stuff that's bad. Trust that that's what will happen. However, there is another option. And when we look at it from the space of how it can be connected to us in a way that is of service, that is honoring, that is mirroring a conscious and aware being, it shifts what AI is doing as well, because it's a mirror. And if you're on that energy and in that frequency of how it can liberate from some of the things that are existing, then you create a different narrative for the reality. That's not to say that we might not experience some things that come up that are uncomfortable with it, because as we said before, light and dark, black and white, good and bad, all exist. However, I'm going to play for you a song that AI and I created together. Like I said, all the words are from me. The way that I wanted it structured is for me. The voice and the creation of the music is AI. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I want you to stop, listen, and let the song remind you of who you truly are, the power that exists within you. Allow this transmission to be received and allow it to expand your awareness. Allow it to open your mind to the possibilities of what can exist when AI is used with conscious hands. And this song is an example of that. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy it.
Do you remember that you are a being of light and of glory, only here on planet Earth, to learn through your journey, energy being. You are here to be. You're most connected, magnetic, and powerful. Holding your frequency of authenticity will only align you with what is meant for you. So my beautiful being, go and remember who you are.
I hope that song, that transmission deeply resonated with you and maybe even awoken something within you. An energetic activation, a remembrance of who and what you truly are. If you'd like to listen to more, I do have more on my YouTube. That song is there as well. And I will put the information in the show notes so that way you can easily access that. And more music will be coming as I'm getting different messages and transmissions that are inspiring me to share with the world. Thank you so much for being here, wherever you are, for season 2 episode 1 of the Feminine Voice of God. We'll see you next time on episode 2, where I will have a guest. And I also want to update you that these episodes will be occurring once a month, so keep an eye out for the next episode. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for tuning in to the Feminine Voice of God. May the divine feminine within you continue to guide and inspire your spiritual journey. Stay connected, share your insights, and embody the wisdom shared on our podcast. Until next time, may the sacred essence of the feminine illuminate your path.